Jeremy Hunt, like Theresa May, you voted to remain. Like Theresa May, you're a Tory technocrat. Like Theresa May, you voted for her Brexit deal 3 times. Why would the Tories want more of the same when it's hardly been a golden age for them?
Because, Andrew, I am a totally different person and I have a totally different plan. And I did vote 3 times for Theresa May's deal, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because I wanted to leave the European Union as quickly as possible. And had we voted to do that, as indeed did Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg and many other people, we would have left the EU by now, and I think we would have been in a better position as a country.
But a lot of Tories look at you and they say, we tried you. It didn't work. Trying Theresa in trousers isn't going to be any better.
Well, I am certainly not that. And I am the person who argued in the Cabinet very strongly for a different approach to these negotiations. I didn't think the backstop was the right way forward. I thought we should have negotiated harder. But I was also a loyal Foreign Secretary, and I think Theresa May had a tremendous sense of duty to our country, and I owed her that loyalty. But now we have a leadership contest. I am arguing for a different approach, and that's what I'll deliver as Prime Minister.
At the moment, under your government, to the rest of the world, we look like a democracy that hasn't got a clue where it's going. And you say the new Prime Minister
and that's what I want to resolve, Andrew.
Right, well,
and that's what why we need to choose someone who can resolve it.
In which you've been in government. And you say the new Prime Minister has to be someone Brussels will talk to. That's your words. Are you saying Brussels wouldn't talk to Boris Johnson?
Well, people can make their own conclusions, but as you kindly showed...
No, I'm asking what did you mean by that statement? You must, otherwise the statement is meaningless. You must be implying that Brussels will not talk to Boris Johnson.
No. And I have avoided in this leadership campaign making personal comments about Boris, because we've got to come together as a party at the end of it. So let me tell you exactly what I meant by that statement. As you kindly showed in the clip before, I would be the first Prime Minister who's been an entrepreneur.
You're an entrepreneur? Who knew that?
Have you not heard that before, Andrew?
Well, let's
make it breaking news on this interview, because I think that's a significant point. What do you do when you're negotiating as an entrepreneur? You have to do a deal with someone you trust. People won't do a deal with people they don't trust. And this is very important, because at the moment, Parliament is trying to take no deal off the table. It succeeded in March. It's trying again. So the quickest way to leave the European Union is to send to Brussels a Prime Minister who can negotiate a deal that will get through Parliament.
And I'm on October the 17th. Supposing at that summit there's a breakthrough. Things continue to go well. A deal is in the making. Both sides say so. But it can't be done by Halloween. Are you seriously telling us you'd walk away?
I think we've got to come out on October the 31st, and I think it is very odd that those who say they would delay even further can't set another date. I mean, how much further are we going to wait? We were meant to come out on March the 29th. We were then meant to come out on April the 8th.
Sure.
We then delayed it for a further 6 months. I think this is leading to a huge erosion of trust in politics.
If the EU says to you...
People feel that unless the government, unless the political parties get their act together and come out of the EU on October the 31st, which is what I will deliver, I think people will not return either to the Conservative Party or indeed to the Labour Party, who are also hemorrhaging support.
We know that
what they need to do to the Irish backstop, as I've said repeatedly in this election process, is they need to take the 175 pages of the Irish backstop and they need basically to remit it, to remove it, to delete it, and to put the solution to all the issues of frictionless trade across the Irish border and indeed elsewhere, and resolve them in the context of the FTA, the Free Trade Agreement, that we will do after we have come out on October the 31st.
There's a problem with that, because
the
European Union doesn't see the backstop as part of the future negotiations. It sees the backstop as a fallback for should these negotiations fail. It wants the backstop in place,
Andrew,
should they fail. It's a precondition for you to negotiate, and they won't change their mind on that.
No. Well, that's, if I may say so, more of the defeatism and negativity that we've had over the last 3 years.
It's just an accurate reading of the view in Brussels.
No, it isn't. It's entirely wrong. Because what's happened over the last 3 years is that the EU has been presented with a UK partner that is basically determined to stay in the customs union and in the single market. And that's effectively what the backstop constrains us to do. If you look at what the backstop does, it presents the Prime Minister of the UK, presents the government of the UK with an unacceptable choice.
I understand that.
Well, I don't think people do.
Do you think our viewers really understand? What I'm trying to get across to you is that the EU will not agree
what has changed
to make the backstop in the negotiations. It's a precondition for the negotiations.